Have you ever wished someone would really listen to your story? Not to fix it, not to correct it, just to care. Most of us long for that kind of grace. However, the truth is that the people of the past longed for it too. Hi, I'm Liam, a retired historian, and today I'm continuing my series in The 7 Habits of Historically Conscious People by introducing the fourth habit, which gives the antidote for not only not listening to one another, but also for not listening to the voices of the past. I'm talking about the golden rule. When we apply the golden rule to the remembered past, it means prizing stories, their humanity, their context, and their mystery. Today I'll share 3 golden rule virtues that will help us listen before judging, ask before assuming, and remember that the past is not a set of winners and losers, but a chorus of voices, some loud, some nearly lost. Just as we hope others will treat our story with patience and respect, history asks us to do the same for those who came before us. In our last episode, we read a 1940 letter from Clementine Churchill to her husband, Winston, in which she gently reminded him that the way he treated his co-workers would shape their willingness to follow him. Clementine's words reached across time, demonstrating that kindness and proportion in relationships alter the course of history itself. In a sense, her letter could have been written to us. Lead with empathy. Treat others as you wish to be treated. The people and ideas of the past continue to influence us every day. They're the unseen participants in our conversations and debates. We stand on their shoulders, not because we're smarter, but because their struggles gave us the chance to see farther. Practicing the golden rule toward them means listening to their stories with humility, acknowledging the experiences that have shaped us. 3 key virtues train us to develop the habit of practicing the golden rule in the remembered past. Listening without prejudice, having proportion, and having empathy. The first virtue is patience, listening before judging. Have you ever been talking to someone and realized they're not really listening? They're just waiting for you to stop? It hurts, doesn't it? Some of the most significant relational hurts of my life have occurred when I've endured that kind of impatience. Recently, someone asked me to tell them how I became interested in history. They asked me. And when I began to answer the question, they became glassy-eyed and suddenly turned to talk to someone else. Well, I guess we all do that sometimes to the people around us and even to the people of the past. Patience is what turns hearing into understanding. It's how we live the golden rule, one quiet moment at a time. Patience is the historian's first act of charity. There's a difference between hearing and listening. Hearing waits for a pause so we can reply. Listening waits for understanding. To listen to the past, we must be patient with those who don't yet see the connections between then and now, including ourselves. The evidence is always incomplete. The causal chains are tangled. Great historians from Herodotus to David McCullough remind us that writing history begins in humility. McCullough wrote that the rendering of great history is rooted in humility and in empathy, because the historian's chief capacity is to enter another's life with patience. And patience bears fruit. McCullough wrote a magisterial book about Harry Truman, the 33rd President of the United States, serving from 1945 to 1953. Truman was often regarded as the accidental president who blundered into the Cold War, being relatively uneducated and inexperienced in politics. Researching Truman, McCullough discovered that he not only was courageous, but he also was truly burdened by the awful dilemmas that the presidency had handed him. McCullough said he discovered Truman had a profound sense of history. He believed that every president should know both American and world history. A president with a sense of history is less prone to hubris. In our own lives, that patience means anticipating the stories that come to us, spoken and unspoken. Think of the people who worked just to preserve the stories. The daughter who saved her father's war letter. The volunteer who recorded the memories of nursing home residents. The staff who gently coaxed an elder to share what he could recall. Stories remind us that patience dignifies the storyteller as much as the story. The second virtue is proportion. See the past in scale. Every age has its heroes and villains, but sometimes the way we remember them says more about us than about them. What's big? What's small? What's lasting? Who says so? That's why historians talk about proportion. It's how we see the past and ourselves more clearly. Now, proportion may seem like a new kind of virtue to you, so allow me an extra minute or so to unpack it and relate it to the golden rule as habit. Proportion in history refers to maintaining a balanced sense of scale and significance when interpreting the past. Think of it as a historian's sense of scale, similar to having good eyesight, neither zoomed in too closely to miss the bigger picture, nor zoomed out so far that you lose sight of the human details. It's the historian's practice of giving major events appropriate weight without exaggerating their significance, recognizing minor details for what they are without allowing them to dominate the narrative, understanding people and actions within the context of their own time rather than imposing current perspectives on them. This is important because sometimes we cannot understand a situation clearly because we are too focused on the small details rather than on the bigger picture. It suggests that one may lose perspective when too involved in a particular issue. For example, romanticizing Mary Queen of Scots and forgetting she was a working queen, or better yet, another Stuart, Bonnie Prince Charlie, in Over the Sea to Sky fame, forgetting he was a figure of his time. Not the gallant young prince in tartan fleeing through the highlands with Flora MacDonald, but neither was he only an inept dreamer whose rebellion was doomed from the start. A real man with real problems, caught up in the upheaval of the death knell of divine right monarchy. And, just listen to me, an old American Scots-Irish historian from Kansas, only giving examples from Scottish history. What am I thinking? How about a clearer example? Let's consider the French Revolution. 1789 to 1799. Well, early historians often either glorified it as the birth of liberty or condemned it as a period of anarchy and chaos and bloodshed. However, later scholars, such as Alexis de Tocqueville, restored a sense of proportion by illustrating that the French Revolution was a combination of both, an eruption of ideals and violence deeply rooted in long-standing economic and social structures that far predated 1789. A proper sense of proportion reveals French Revolution is a part of a larger transformation in European politics and thought, not merely an abrupt upheaval or a flawless dawn of freedom. It marked a significant turning point, but it was not the sole cause of modern democracy. Proportion helps historians maintain balance, fairness, and perspective, allowing them to view the past without the magnifying lenses of outrage or the rose-colored glasses of nostalgia. Proportion guards us against the distortions of presentism. It reminds us that we are not the judges of history, but the inheritors. As Wilfred Maclay observed in his book, Land of Hope, historical consciousness is to civilized society what memory is to individual identity. Memory gives coherence to a person's life. Historical proportion gives coherence to civilizations. When we lose proportion, we flatten the past to fit the present. We demand that people of another century think as we do, vote as we would, or speak our language of virtue. Proportion restores depth. It allows then to flow into now without erasing the differences. To practice proportion is to see that the past was not merely a prelude to us. It was its own living world, full of competing goods, unanswerable questions, and half-finished stories. Patience with that complexity leads us from the sharp judgments. It also helps us recognize that we too are products of our time, people of limited vision who will one day be judged by those who come after us. The third virtue is empathy, the heart of the golden rule. Have you ever felt invisible? People see your face, but not you. What you have been through, what you carry, most of us know that feeling. Empathy is what bridges that gap, isn't it? It's the golden rule of the heart, to see others as we wish to be seen. If patience is the golden rule in slow motion, empathy is the golden rule in imagination, the ability to enter another's story. Every time we study history, we're practicing empathy, entering another person's world with humility. The best historians don't just collect facts. They feel what it was like to live in that time. Empathy is how we honor the remembered past, by treating its people as we hope someone will treat us, fairly, patiently, and with understanding. Empathy is the historian's imagination at work, the ability to feel what happened without losing critical distance. McCullough called empathy the foremost gift that allows us to enter other lives and times through narrative. When we prize the remembered past, we do unto the people of history as we would want others to do unto us. Their stories deserve to be heard because they are human stories. Telling our own story and listening to theirs are two halves of the same calling. Each of us carries fragments of the greater human narrative, the one long story, the greater story that binds all human life together. To tell your story is to recognize that you are part of that larger conversation. But to listen, to really listen to other stories, is to practice the golden rule of remembrance. It is to say, your life matters, and I will treat your story as I hope someone will treat mine. Here's a true-to-life example of empathy in historical practice. The Protestant Reformation is a fascinating chapter in history that early partisan historians often portrayed as a struggle between good and evil or progress and superstition, depending on the author's perspective. One might think that the Golden Rule would play an essential role in interpreting religious history. Empathetic scholars from the 20th century, such as Ewan Cameron, Heiko Obermann, and Robert Linder, approached the Reformation with historical imagination. They thoughtfully engaged with influential figures like Luther, Erasmus, and Calvin, as well as their Catholic counterparts, seeking to understand their theological perspectives. Rather than simply determining who was right or wrong, these historians embraced the deeper questions remarkable individuals grappled with regarding God, conscience, and community. I plan to create a video on the Reformation someday. It's a central area of research for me. This compassionate exploration allows us to view both reformers and traditionalists as sincere seekers navigating profound truths. By shifting our perspective from a combative one to one rooted in understanding, we can uncover a richly human narrative filled with longing and hope, rather than a mere doctrinal contest. Historical consciousness is not merely about gathering trivia or defending our heroes. It involves learning how to live wisely within the flow of time. Patience allows us to slow down enough to truly listen. Proportion teaches us to approach our judgments with humility. Empathy transforms our knowledge into genuine understanding. When we apply the golden rule to the past, we realize that history is not just about others. It's also about ourselves. The past we remember becomes a neighbor rather than a stranger, a voice still speaking, asking only to be treated with the dignity we wish for our own stories. Perhaps this is where the true wisdom of history begins.